Hello, welcome back to TF1C, the Formula 1 chat, where today we are going to be discussing 5 things we learned from the Diriyah E-Prix. It was the opening 2 rounds of the Formula E season out in Saudi Arabia. And we're going to be discussing a few things that we learned, well, specifically 5 things, because it looks good in the title, that we learned from the E-Prix.
Don't say that.
It's great for the algorithm.
Yeah. No.
But yeah, up first, obviously, we had the debut of the new quali format on the first scene on the Friday. I thought it was very good. I very much enjoyed it. I think
it's fast, it's fun, it's
vast improvement on the original.
It's exciting to watch. They're going head to head.
I would go as far as to say it's better than the Formula 1 quali format.
Excitement levels, yes.
I just think, imagine, like, Q3, Q2, so boring, so routine. Yeah. You know who's going to be... You get the odd, like, surprises, like, oh, look, Russell's managed to get into Q3. Or, Perez has fucked it, he's been knocked out. Ricciardo's fucked it, he's been knocked out. But more often than not, it's the same 5 people out in both sessions, and then you have the same top 10, which is exciting. Oh, who's going to take pole? But the excitement's very short, and it's right at the end, and then that's it. And you've watched a whole hour of, like, nothing before then. But with the Formula E quali, the first bit, the 11 drivers out there, I thought could be a bit dull.
So you have Group A and Group B.
Well, we'll run through it as we talk about it. So yeah, you have the first 2 groups of 11, A and B. I thought that bit might be a bit dull. It'd be the same 4 people getting into the duels every time. But it's not, because you do have this thing of, oh look, Van Dorn's putting a lap, but oh, could someone go quicker? What's going on here? So you have that Q3 feel about it.
Yeah. Because
you have to get that lap in just to get to the duels. And so it's very frantic. Everyone out there trying to put in as good a lap as possible. Yeah, it's also the only bit where you can be ruined by another driver's lap.
Yeah, I've seen it. You've Roland.
With Mortara putting in the wall in the first session, and everyone behind him got ruined. But with having so little parts of the quali session, that if someone else made a mistake, that would hurt your race, is good.
The strategy of it as well is good. Some people stay in the pits for a while and then come out and do one lap.
I love the thing that you have to have set a lap before the half session point, because it forces drivers to actually have to go out there and do a lap, which is entertaining and exciting. Whereas in F1 you often see you'll see the Hasses and stuff out there for the first 5 minutes. You don't need a 15-minute session at all for Q1. But you see the Hasses and the Williams and that for the first 5 minutes. Then you actually get the other drivers just put in their routine lap and then pack it in for Q1, and it's just so pointless. So I think Formula E format is very, very good. Then onto the main,
that's
big
the thing. The 2 groups of 11 was really good, but the next part is even better. The duels is just great.
I mean, it's better when you have a close duel. It's a bit more when you have a duel with Nyck De Vries in it.
Nyck De Vries whipped John Verne.
Yeah,
the
graphics was falling off the screen. It's quality.
But the fact that drivers go 1 versus 1.
That graphic is so nice, so clean, because it's clear. You understand what's going on.
Yeah,
you can see the gap. You know what's happening. I'm a huge fan of it, and you can watch both drivers on board side by side.
They're not together; they don't go at the same time. But what they do is they slow
at least one of the duels. They
slow one of the footages down.
Yeah, they
so they are identical time.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. It's great. It's great to watch drivers going head to head to get through to the semi. So you have the quarters, the top 4 from each group face off against each other.
Yeah. And the duels were so good. I'm a huge fan. Yes, you can get stiffed a bit if you by the draw, because for instance, Nick looked like one of the fastest 2 in the first quali, but because he went up against Van Dorn, he didn't get through.
If you're Verne, for example, you get through, but then you have to go against Nyck De Vries.
I think it's quality because it punishes mistakes. It's thrilling for the entertainment factor is there. It does. And I think the drivers really like the challenge by the looks of it.
Yeah, and what it does as well is obviously, so with the whole, so obviously the top 4 go through, but 4th in Group A goes against 1 in Group B. So it shows that it's not just about getting through in the top 4. You want to be as high as possible because then you technically have an easier opponent.
But I also like that it forces you to push every single lap, because you know you could in F1 you can kind of just go, oh, it's Q2, we just need to put in a good enough time. Oh, it's Q1, we just need to put a good enough time to get through. But you have to go for every lap, so you could really be pushing hard in the quarters
and ruin it completely. You could be crack out, you're done,
and completely ruin your quality, which I think is so good because
the thrill is
you put that risk right next to such a big reward, and it punishes every little mistake you make, because that could be your whole quality over, and that could be, or you could lose. You could be out there, which would be equally as bad. So
the quarters are, some of them are close, some of them are quite spread.
Like
out.
Nick and Vern. Obviously, Vern was quite a lot off, but
some of the others were close.
Part and parcel
then you get into the semis, which were close, and the final. I mean, which is usually.
Especially the second one,
the round 2,
where you had just 5,000 between them. That kind of excitement and thrill is just good.
That's nothing. It's basically nothing. 5,000 of a second. That's ridiculous.
I know we've only seen 2 rounds so far, but at the moment I have literally 0 complaints about the quality system, and I'm a
great,
huge fan.
I really like it.
And hopefully, eventually, we might do some streams on this channel.
Maybe.
I think
depends what you guys want.
I think we'd be more likely to stream though a FE quali session than a Formula 1 quali session.
Or an FE race, because it's a little bit shorter and it's more action packed.
Yeah, all constant stuff going on. And obviously FE is on at the moment, and F1 doesn't start until late March.
But when it does, we'll be on it.
Yeah, so we're making loads of content surrounding both sports. Anyway, on to our second thing we learned from the Diriyah E-Prix, and it's that Dan Ticktum, just laughing at how we've written on the board.
Yeah,
so remember the notes. Dan Ticktum and Giovinazzi really struggling at the opening weekend. Both in the bottom 3, I think, for both race classifications, other than retired cars, obviously. And Gio, I think, was dead last in both races. Dan Ticktum was 1 or 2 places high. He was ahead of Turvey, I think.
And this is not, they're not bad drivers. They're both very, very good.
They're going to take time to adapt to the sport and the car.
To adapt.
But
I think it also it shows the differences between F1 and FE, F2 and FE, and IndyCar and FE. Because Oliver Askew has got into that car and is doing really well. It could also cut, depending on how much practice they've all done in the car.
Which I think we can almost tie into the same thing we learned, is that Askew has adapted very well to Formula E, whereas Dan, Ticktum and Giovinazzi
he may have put in more
really
practice, we don't know. That is probably likely the case. Askew's probably maybe spent more time in the car, more time with the team.
Yeah.
Because Gio didn't realise he was going to be in Formula E until quite late.
Well, yeah. Also the tracks are very different. So Formula 1, you have these big, wide open circuits which encourage
they're both
wide racing, 3 wide. If you try to go 3 wide on a Formula E track, you're going to get stuck.
And that also comes in with Askew. Even the same with IndyCar, some of the tracks, like the final race of the season.
The IndyCar tracks are very narrow, so he's raced on tracks where you have to.
It's not electric.
Where you have to find as much pace by going as close to the barrier as possible, but not putting it in the barrier. And so I think that has helped him massively. The fact that IndyCar is, I think, a lot more similar to Formula E than the F1, F2 open wheel series.
Yeah.
So.
But I think Dan, Ticktum and Gio will improve eventually. Whether they'll be up at the top like we put Gio, for example, don't know. But I think they will improve. They will get used to the car. They will adapt, and they will be quite quick.
Yeah, on to someone who is very quick. Our third thing we learned is that Nyck De Vries is incredibly quick. I mean, yes, his round 2 didn't go to plan.
But he did, mate.
But he still had some incredibly strong pace. The strategy just wasn't there for him, but he was very quick. In quali, he looked so dominant over other drivers.
He dominated the second one.
The first one, made a few mistakes.
If he hadn't drawn Van Dorn, he'd have definitely got through to the final.
I mean, he was just 2/10 off in the end, and he had 2 big slides over the course of the lap. So Yeah,
I think he did.
I mean, it could just be Diriyah. He did win the opener there last year, and probably could have done better in the second if it wasn't for the weird quali format back then.
Yeah.
But I just think Nyck De Vries is reigning champion, won the opener, pole for the second, a very good opening weekend. Of course, he isn't first in the championship. Edu Mortara is, but I think it's only a matter of time until we see Nyck De Vries just retake that championship lead.
Is so competitive, and anything could happen because Nyck De Vries was quick for the whole second round. You know, he got pole.
Yeah.
He was so quick, and then just a strategy error and a collision with Vern, and he only ended up scoring 1 point.
I mean, it was really silly in my opinion from Nyck De Vries because I'm seeing a lot of people say like, "Oh, what is Vern doing?" But Nick locked up. Vern's gone past. Just concede the pay. Just concede the place and tuck him behind. Try and fight him back for the next time. I don't know why he tried to stick with him and then slapped into him. Not once but twice.
You should go straight up. Sort of just go straight on, take the tightest line out of it, and you have to lift off a bit to let him through. What you don't do is you try and come back on straight away, smash into the side of him, then try and do it again and hit him again.
Just it's a bit odd. So it does show that he isn't. Like he's not a god. No. He is human, but still, he does look ridiculously quick.
And I think if he takes his pace from Diriyah into all the other races,
and I think he could become our second 2-time FE champion.
Yeah. And then after this week, we'll get onto it in the 5th point. But
yeah.
I think Nyck De Vries.
No, actually, we'll talk about it now. We have it 5th, but we'll do it 4th. Yeah. DS Teecheetahs are really struggling at the moment. It could have just been Diriyah. It didn't look good there last year. You know,
not a strong round for either. DaCosta especially really struggled. I think Vern did very well to get a 6th and 8th.
So for the first, we'll talk about both rounds individually. First round, I think they were incredibly unlucky. They both got knocked out because of
they got impeded in quali.
Because Mortara's crash.
Yes.
So they didn't end up getting in a good lap, and then therefore they were knocked out and didn't get to the duels, and they were near the back, then having to start.
DaCosta,
I think, had a very good race, recovering up to 8th.
DaCosta, and that was it.
Got very unlucky. Turn 1. Yeah. Very unlucky. Turn 1, not much you could do about it. Everyone was just a bit. It was a lot of chaos. Very.
Everyone's all over the place.
Difficult to get through, so can't really blame DaCosta there. And they both got through the duels. Obviously, DaCosta had that weird thing with the light, but I think he still, either way, he would have been knocked out by Degrassi. Yeah. So I don't think too many complaints can be had there. Maybe he'd have put in a better lap than the other.
He lifted off through the final corner and across.
I think
the line.
maybe he probably could have put in a better lap than 5th and 6th, but it only would have been a few places. Vern got to the... No, he got knocked out by Nick.
So
but his lap was still decent. He was
6-7,
like 5th or 10, yeah.
They started 6-7. Difference was, DaCosta didn't have any place and he fell right down out of the points and he ended up finishing 13th.
Vern kept up there.
Vern did.
Well, I think DaCosta had what Lottera had. In round 1. You fought the first guy too hard with the energy, so then you're having to conserve, and other drivers are then coming through while you're trying to conserve, and then it's just a chain reaction. You just keep dropping. And I feel for DaCosta, he didn't have a strong weekend, got quite unlucky at times over it. But as shown last season, didn't have a strong opener at Diriyah, round 1 and 2, which immediately puts you on the back foot because there's 2 races. But then he looked strong throughout the rest of the season, and would have won the championship if it wasn't for that weird Valencia moment where he was leading by so much, and then the energy just got drained after the safety car. No one had anything left, and Nyck De Vries managed to come through and win.
That was the difference in the championship.
It's just weird little things like that. I think with the quality system like this, he is one of the quicker drivers in Formula E. I think DaCosta can really mount a serious charge after later into the season. I think he will bounce back from this poor start. Vern, I think he did well considering all the factors we've discussed.
Played it safe,
a 6th and an 8th.
Played it patient.
Yeah,
he waited for the
strong weekend.
Like the first race, he just let people crash into each other like Roland and France,
very much like Askew did, and just cut through the shit.
And the sausage second one, he just let he saw De Vries fully. He made some very good overtakes.
Yeah, he held his own battling, but didn't overuse energy, didn't overexert himself. So yeah, good for him there. And on to our final point is the team which I think is obviously top of the constructors right now. Look very strong.
Yeah.
Mortara lost the championship. It's Venturi's looking very strong opener. Obviously, De Vries's just joined. He's in P6 in the championship. Probably deserved higher. I think he looked better than Freintz, but Freintz just managed to nick it. And then then the safety car came out.
In terms of Formula E, De Vries is the best driver on that grid, and he's the most experienced.
I think he is the GOAT of Formula E. Not just because he's not. He hasn't won the most championships. Obviously, that's Vern. But he embodies perfectly what Formula E is all about.
Yeah.
You know, he's so sustainability driven and conservation and all that.
He doesn't just turn up and drive in.
No, he cares about the wider message of Formula E and save the planet.
Some
and all
drivers, they turn up and drive in an electric car, but then they'll go, they go home and they won't care about it. Whereas De Vries will, and he does
a lot in that.
His actual car's electric,
Yeah,
he's very sustainable,
and he's adapted really nicely to the Venturi. Obviously, he's been with Audi for his whole time in Formula E. They left the sport, but Venturi joined. Him and Mortara are looking very strong, very quick, but also very respectful of each other.
De Vries didn't go for the move on Mortara.
The two of them could have come together, could have been over aggressive, but they worked together and they deserve to bring over 1-2. I think they'll take the 1-3 though from that round 2. Round 1 they did very well to fight back through after a kind of difficult quality.
Obviously Mortara crashed.
Yeah, he fought through. De Vries did get through, I think 5th, 6th, something like that. And decent quality. They look quick. They're very good in the races. They work well together. I think Venturi will take the constructors, as I think I said in the predictions bit.
Especially with that Mercedes power engine in the back of that car.
Yeah, and as expected almost. Van Dorn came second in the first one and then fought through a bit for the second, but he did cock up in the first. He should have won that.
Yeah.
He had the margin to De Vries. And the second, to not even get through out of the groups was poor from Stoff, which I think is the reason he cannot really compete for the championship. Nick is stronger.
I said it would be DS Teecheetah in the championship, but just based on that round 1 and 2 alone, Mercedes, I feel Van Dorn let them down in the first 2 rounds. DS Teecheetah, Da Costa got unlucky and let them down. Whereas Venturi, Mortara and De Vries, very good partnership and 2 very good drivers.
That's about all. Or just to cap it off a bit though, I think going back to the Nyck De Vries' pace, obviously cock up the strategy. He'll be very annoyed to not be 50 points by now. Because realistically, he should be.
If he'd take the tap with everyone else.
And then he'd be 20 points clear of everyone. So I think if De Vries does keep up that pace, I don't think there's any stopping him. I think he will just breeze to the second championship and then go to Formula 1, which is a seat he deserves.
Yeah. And
we will have a video coming out soon discussing lineups for 2023, as well as Lewis Hamilton's future if he does decide to leave. So make sure to subscribe, hit that notifications bell so you can see when we're going to be uploading them. And thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
See ya.